What's up, buddy? So today we're taking a look at Klonoa, Door to Phantomile, and which settings looks the best for this game in DuckStation. So we are starting with the default settings, so it's a native resolution, or the internal resolution is 1x, dithering is turned off here, and for the scaling it is bilinear smooth. And yeah, I would say this looks pretty good here as a default. It is a little bit blurry, but also not all that pixelated. I would say this works pretty well here for this game, but I think I would prefer it to be a little bit more pixelated here. So yeah, let's change the scaling from bilinear smooth to nearest neighbor. There we go. And yeah, I would say this looks a bit better here. Everything kind of blends in pretty well with the 3D background or environment here, and also the 2D sprites here. So yeah, this is a pretty good option, but let's also try some other things, like increasing the internal resolution to my monitor's resolution, which is 4K. There we go. And yeah, definitely a lot cleaner here. And for the 3D geometry, kinda tend to bubble around a bit for PlayStation 1 games, and well, you definitely have some of that here. But DuckStation does support geometry correction, which should hopefully help there, so let's turn that on. There we go. And yeah, that made quite a difference here. That looked pretty nice here. And given that this game is very cartoony graphics here, I think this works pretty well here, just by increasing the internal resolution, at least for this game. Yeah, looks pretty good here. Another thing we can also try here was the dithering, if we try to turn that on. Some games have a ton of that, or some PlayStation 1 games, and let's set that one to unscaled. There we go. And yeah, kinda small, not a big difference here for this area. We do get some in the background, or for the sky there in the background, which I say look pretty good here. There's also some here on the other objects, but it's not a big difference, and I would say it's for the most part to the better here. Let's see if we can get that one, and let's try to turn this off again. There we go. Yeah, a small difference, but at least for this area here, I would say it's preferable to have this turned on here. So yeah, let's keep that turned on. There we go. Alright, well, next up, let's try downsampling here. So that is when the internal resolution is still here in 4K, but that is then downsampled back to the native resolution. And yeah, it also looks pretty good here. Let's try change the scaling to smooth. And I would say I think I prefer the sharper pixels here, at least for this game. But the dithering pattern, on the other hand, looks a bit nicer here with the smooth scaling, or bilinear smooth. They kind of blend in together there, so yeah, it's not as noticeable. So for that part, I would say this blurry thing still looks pretty good here. But let's change back to nearest neighbor. Yeah, it looks pretty good there. I think I would prefer the native resolution, on the other hand, if we would compare. This looks a little bit smoother, but yeah, let's compare that one to native resolution. Everything is definitely a bit more blocky, and but for this game, I would say that still blends in a little bit better with the 2D sprites here. So yeah, comparing native resolution to downsampled 4K, I would say I think I prefer the native resolution. So yeah, that's still a nice option. Another thing I usually find to look pretty nice is another thing. Let's try that. Let's see if we change this to or the internal resolution to 2x here. So it's oops. So it's slightly upscaled here, and then change the scaling to bilinear smooth. Then also, if we go to advanced, then turn on multi-sampling here. And this is the one I usually find to work the best. And yeah, now we get a little bit of blurry effect here. The dithering pattern there, it still blends pretty well, but we still have pretty good detail. Also, stuff is also slightly blurry, but I would say it looks still very good here. Things blend together pretty well. So yeah, this is probably the option I prefer the most here. At least for this game and this area. Let's see, we do have some dithering here as well, we can see. And we are also gonna try... let's see... Oops. Let's try to load a save game here. Here is the second level here, and for the dithering we have quite a lot more here in this cave area. So still think it looks pretty good here. If we change it to nearest neighbor on the other hand, it's gonna be quite a lot more noticeable. There we go. But yeah, I still quite like it, but it's definitely not for everybody. Let's see, let's also go with the native resolution and turn off the multi-sampling here. There we go. And yeah, this is also a very good option here for this game, I would say. And let's try to turn off the dithering here. There we go. And yeah, it's definitely a lot more clearer here, but I think I still prefer it. But also, I guess we didn't do that with the 2x internal resolution and try to turn off the dithering. There we go. And we should also have smooth. Yeah, that also looks really well, a lot more cleaner, but yeah, like I said, I kind of like the dithering pattern here for this one. This game also supports, let's see if we can get that one. This game also works with the widescreen here, so maybe we should also have a look at that. Let's also go back to the scaling, because this is the one I preferred. But let's try to turn on widescreen next. Alright, well, here we go, widescreen, and yeah, this looks pretty nice. We can have a little bit of pop-in, or things gonna pop into existence to the side of the screens here, but not all that much. So yeah, we can see there for the windmill there, for example. So yeah, it's not perfect, but it still works really well here. This is also the same settings that I prefer the most here, which is 2x native resolution. Dithering is turned on, and scaling is bilinear smooth, and then also have the multi-sampling turned on there. And yeah, this looks pretty amazing, I would say. There is also another option I think looks also very well here, so let's find a nice spot and let's switch over to that thing. Alright, well, here we go. This is native resolution. Dithering is still turned on, and then the scaling is nearest neighbor, and then no multi-sampling here. And I think this also works very well for this game. Things kinda blends in a bit better, maybe with the 2D sprites here. So yeah, I think this is also works very well for this one. But yeah, I guess this will be it for this video. I hope you liked it, and you will stay awesome. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.